He probably won't. He's probably going to go for the money. He's going to go to Boston, or he's going to go to New York, or someone's going to pay him a ton of money like Seattle, and he's going to go to Seattle, and he's going to do horrible there because they have no team. If the Jays, I've heard Anibal Sanchez, but again, do you want to pay $12, $13 million a year for a fifth starter?
Depends on how long he's here for. Depends how good he is. I don't know.
Do you think Zach Greinke will go for money, or do you think he'll go for a winning team?
I think he'll go for both.
Is that possible, though?
I don't see why it isn't. If you like Greinke enough, I think a team would offer it to him.
If Seattle, says, we're going to give you $25 million a year to come pitch with Felix, and then Boston, although they have money, Boston says, we're going to give you $20 million a year, we're going to give you $5 less to come to Boston.
Well, let's bring, for instance, the Jays into this. They don't have so much money to work with, but they have a better chance of winning, a lot better chance. So this, again, plays into what you're saying. If the Jays offer like $12 million, $15 million, do you think he says, well, look at the players, look at the starting rotation on the Jays. Do I join the Jays? Because I know Greinke has been in the Jays' head for a long time.
Greinke had a no-trade clause to go to the Jays. He didn't want to go to the Jays.
He didn't want to go to the Jays.
So he's not going to sign with them.
So yeah, exactly. But maybe, that was before this trade. That was before they transformed the whole team. The nucleus of the team right now is so much better. So I don't know. Maybe Greinke's looking at it like,
The one name that has been floating around has been R.A. Dickey. He just won NL Cy Young. He's a knuckleballer. He's 38 years old.
Would you like to see him on the Jays if they were interested? Or would they give up too much?
If the price is right, but the Mets are going to want a lot back.
Yeah.
He's 38 years old. Don't get me wrong. Tim Wakefield was a knuckleballer. He pitched till he was, 44? So Dickey could pitch another 4 or 5 years, but
I don't know.
You'd have to give up Ghosts and
it's a risk to give up that much.
And yeah, for a guy who's had one good year.
If it was the right,
believe me, he was unhittable last year.
Yeah,
but
and if he was
28 years old and he was doing that, yeah, I would give Ghosts and another prospect up. But he's 38. But if he's your number 5,
what's an exception then? Say like no Ghosts. What would you think the closest you would come to getting him? From a Jays perspective, anyways. Say Ghost isn't in it. What would you say? Ghost?
You'd have to give up one of the big two in Lansing, Syndergaard or Sanchez. They had the big three, but they traded Nicolino in the Florida deal.
Would you do that for 2 years, 3 years?
Personally, I would wait until the MLB trade deadline, see where the team's at, if they're doing good, or if they got a legit chance at winning the division. If they're way ahead, I would add, if R.A. Dickey's on the market, which probably won't be, you never know if he re-signs with the Mets and the Mets want to move him, then you go out, you make the deal, you bring in Dickey, and you show the rest of the AL East, you show the rest of the American League, look, we're serious.
And they're not saying they're serious already.
Or
right?
if Seattle's struggling and Felix Hernandez, former Cy Young winners, being offered as bait, yeah, you go out and you try to make your team better.
You think Sergio Santos is going to be ready? I've been hearing that he may not be ready.
He might be, but will he be?
It's going to aggravate his.
Will
injury.
he be the same?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a rough
even if
year.
he does come back.
I think Casey Jansen will close no matter what. I think Santos would be the 8th inning guy, and then they got Darren Oliver mixed in there too.
So say Santos returns to form, he plays well. Do they still need to get another starter? Does Alex Anthopoulos go into these winter meetings now for this week and say, I have question marks about Santos. Do I get a closer?
I think a closer's easier to fill during the season than it is at the end. I mean, guys become available. Heath Bell, Andrew Bailey. So you can even get an 8th inning guy. You can see how Jansen plays. Jansen had lights out. He was lights out when he was plugged into the closer's role. The big question for the Jays is to wait and see what the Boston Red Sox do. They just signed Mike Napoli to a 3-year, $39 million deal. They have money to blow. Is Mike Napoli worth $13 million a year? He hit 227, 24 home runs, 56 RBIs.
I find that contracts in the last couple of weeks are ridiculous, but that's
free agency, right?
Yeah, that's an MLB free agency. That's what happens. It's nothing like the NHL.
They've signed Johnny Gomes. I mean, look at the Red Sox. They trade Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford and Josh Beckett, core guys, and right now they don't have anything to show for it. Maybe if they get Zach Greinke, they put him with Lester and Buchholz, but we need to wait and see what's going on in Boston.
So we waited long to get to this, but the NFL had
tragedy.
Great tragedy. Jovan Belcher. Sure, people have found out by now, and if you haven't, he committed a murder-suicide on, I believe it was Saturday morning. He shot his wife 9 times, and then he...
in front of, I think it was her mother or his mother. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, and then he went to Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, and killed himself in front of the GM and coach, and they have a 3-month-old child together there, or they did, and I feel bad for the child.
I don't, like, what could be going through this man's head for him to do this?
When I got home on Saturday and I couldn't believe it. It's just one of those things that you find out like, originally I'm like, oh my God, he died. But then you find out how it happened.
Yeah, and like, how traumatic is that for people who witness it?
Yeah.
You know? And
like, his head coach and his general manager were in the parking lot when he took his life.
Yeah,
when they were pleading with him. And should the game have been played? I mean, it happened Saturday. They had the game at Sunday at 1 o'clock. Should it have been played?
I don't think it should have, but I feel like because it's so close to home for his teammates, it's like they had to. They had to play the game because this is what they do.
Do you play it for him, though? I mean, he killed his wife. What is going through your mind? Like, I was trying to figure this out yesterday. She must have done something to make him upset, or he was just screwed up in his head completely.
Depressed. I don't know. Maybe he was depressed. But all I know is that you don't, because of the situation, you can't say, oh, we're playing this game for him. But, I think
you can't honor him.
You try to rally the team. It is a tragic event. It doesn't matter how you look at it. And I just think that they decide, like, I know, like...
should they have played the game? Should they have waited till Monday?
I think there would have been an issue if they decided that they weren't going to play the game and the NFL said, no, you have to. I think that would have been a big issue. I don't think it's an issue if they play, though.
Well, apparently,
just for the players,
the team captains met the night of the death, and they voted on whether they should play or not. And they voted yes, and they went out and they won their second game of the year, and
best game of the year.
And they left his jersey in his locker and everything in his locker, so it was a touching moment.
Yeah, it's
Andy Studebaker. He's a backup linebacker. He was crying when they were interviewing him. They couldn't. Jovan Belcher was a good friend of his, and just a tragic event that happened in Kansas City.
Yeah, I would say that like they won the game based on kind of them coming together. I think that was pretty much the main focus for them.
Quickly for the NFL, for what happened yesterday. How special is Andrew Luck? I mean, first overall, just unbelievable.
I don't know. He's one of the best first overall picks.
He might be the best. He's won more games than any rookie drafted first overall. I mean,
he's
2 touchdowns and 239. The Colts' stunning comeback.
He runs that team. He is the core of that team. They're winning because of him.
it's the quarterback makes a huge difference in the NFL, and you can ask the Jets that because Mark Sanchez, not a good performance, was benched in favor of a backup quarterback, and no, it was not Tim Tebow. It was Greg McElroy. And Mr. McElroy leads the Jets to a comeback win. He goes 5 for 7, 29 yards, gets a TD. They win 7-6.
Well, I know it's low, but you got to go with him again.
So that was my next question. Who do you start? You go McElroy?
You go McElroy again. He got you the win.
I think you go Tebow. The whole reason you brought Tebow in was to put pressure on Sanchez, and if Sanchez didn't...
The only benefit I see of putting Tebow in is that if he actually plays a good game, players may actually start to like him and play for him.